Canadians celebrate Christmas with a canoe on the tree. And they also believe that Armenians believe in fire hazards for the Armenian Christmas tree. Fucking wonderful. That's what they think my ancestors did. They think my ancestors put a canoe on a big pine tree and celebrated with the pilgrims. Really? I know now not to piss off a brass doll. Oh, this is a Mexican tree. Yes, because that's what Mexican Barbie looks like. Right, I got it. Yes, that's about right. Oh, yes, very Mexican. She looks extremely Mexican. Good job, Science Museum. She looks quite Mexican. Way to go. Good job. Oh, yes. Mexicans still dress like this. Excellent. Yes. Merry Christmas. Uh-oh. Barbie's pretty worried. Barbie's pretty worried. I mean, look, she chewed her own hand off. She must be very worried about the holiday season being on this Mexican tree. We tie Barbie dolls to trees. That's right. Yes, that's quite politically correct. Oh my, yes, she's very Mexican. This is politically correct. Over this tree. Oh yes, quite Mexican. This is what the Science Museum thinks is a Japanese Christmas tree. With origami ornaments and tiny little umbrellas from the 1960s and paper cranes. Apparently Guatemala just makes their Christmas trees out of sacks, and they put them all over the tree and write the name of their country on it so that you don't forget where you live. I see. And we are complete with some... Is this an ashtray? This is an ashtray. I used to make these in school before I was homeschooled. Oh, and wooden spoons. Yes, that's very, very traditional Guatemalan Christmas tree ornament. Nothing says Christmas like a trip to Las Vegas. What an excellent American ornament at the science industry. Right for the children. Alright, the rest of this I'm going to have to do in video format. There's only so far an emoticon can get you. I can't type this out. So I want to talk for a minute about some of the people that were in the crowd, specifically the moms and dads, who are old enough that they should know better. When you have children, they are your full time responsibility. That means you are solely responsible not just for their well-being, but their behavioral issues as well. If you know your child is acting up, don't bring him outside. And if you know it's your baby's bedtime, leave the baby with a sitter. Don't bring them outside. I am so sick to death of going everywhere and finding nothing but screaming babies and parents that are just like, I don't know, Jenny's acting up. Shut up! And this is not even a cultural problem anymore. Rich parents, poor parents, all types of moms and dads do that. They're just so fucking negligent. It makes me wonder why you even have children if you're not going to take care of them. And there were so many kids. Usually I hate ragging on children. I hate that. Because I was a child myself once, and that's just not fair. But some of these kids were just acting up. Some of these kids were ignoring the signs. Every exhibit that I went to at this museum had brightly colored signs that said, "Do not touch the exhibit." I don't think the signs could have been any more clear. If they were, they would be lit up in neon. Kids are touching these exhibits left and right with their nasty Dorito fingers, their nasty Cheeto fingers, and that's another thing I want to know, talk about. I know you obesity Nazis are out there listening. I know you're thinking, oh, see, there's an obesity epidemic. Despite the fact that every child I saw at the museum today had a bag of Doritos with him, all of these kids were skinny. And these kids, they kept lifting up their shirts. I could count their ribs. Okay? You want to know how many fat, roly-poly Cartman kids there were? One. Out of a crowd of 700 people, there was one fat ass. Everybody else was borderline skinny. So I'm not even upset that these kids were eating Doritos, because God knows their parents were in their ear constantly, Susie, stop eating carrots, you're going to get fat. So when you're dealing with that kind of spoiled brat all the time, you're allowed a tiny, itty-bitty bag of Doritos that's this big, $8, and has 5 potato chips to it. I don't care that they were eating Doritos. I do care that they were eating the Doritos and then going, and touching the exhibits like this, despite the signs. And their parents are watching them do this and not fucking caring at all. I mean, these parents couldn't even raise their voice. They couldn't even say, stop it. No, these parents were just like, oh, isn't that cute? Kids will be kids. No, kids are breaking the rules. Do your fucking job as a parent and discipline them. And then there were some parents. How do I say this delicately without offending anybody I've ever known in my life? There were some parents that have children that you can see something's not quite right up here with Junior, and the parents just don't want to acknowledge it. And I'm not talking ADD or ADHD. A lot of people are stupid enough to medicate children for bouncing off the walls. Children are rambunctious by nature, so I'm not going to count that as a disease. But whatever, you can mess with that yourself. I mean other forms of issues when I say that, okay? So, when I was in line at minute 25 out of 45 in the museum, I saw this dad come in with his 3 children. There's 2 boys and a girl in the middle. That's the aging for them, okay? Now, the 4-year-old, and I know he's 4 because he decided to tell everybody in line, 4-year-old is in the crowd like this. Not really holding on to his parents' hand, not really paying attention. Now, you know what? I say that's fine. He's 4. I did that when I was 4, and I don't mind that. His older brother, who had to have been about 12 or 13, because this kid was shaving, was kind of doing the same thing. Now, at 4, that might be cute. At 12, I start to worry. But the 2 boys weren't the ones that bothered me. No. The one that bothered me was a little seersucker kid in the middle. Little girl who did most of the touching of the exhibits. I kept bumping into this child all damn day. This kid, every time anybody, especially an adult, would look her in the face, this kid would drop a conversation, look up at you and do one of these numbers. That's the one that starts something. That is the one voted most likely to wind up on the 6 o'clock news. Anytime I see a child doing evil Popeye look, that one's going to grow up to be something very, very bad. And there were a few other things that really scared me, okay? There's been a couple of parents, and again, I'm going to emphasize, rich parents do this too. And I saw a lot of rich people in the crowd. You have to be to afford these extra tickets for these damned exhibits, okay? So many people were dressing up their kids inappropriately. Now, I know I can be a bit of a prude at times. I mean, hell, my sweater has a zipper, okay? But when I'm going through a museum, the last thing I need to see in this world is a mommy and daughter dress-up team where the daughter is wearing a pair of jeans that says Juicy on the back and Jailbait on the front, bedazzled in glitter, and this kid is no older than 6. I mean, really, what the hell are you thinking? That is a child. You do not put that on a child. I'm not even happy about seeing a teenager wearing that. This was a child. This was a Powerpuff Girl-aged child. That is no kind of appropriate. I mean, not that I'm all that fashion conscious. I mean, my hair's a wreck right now. But it really bothers me that there's moms and dads that think juicy is an appropriate word on a 6-year-old's ass. Not only is that out of style, thank God, it's inappropriate. It was inappropriate even when it was in style in 2004. And the worst thing about that pair of jeans was a hand-me-down. The older child that had the pair of jeans before this one was ahead of the mom, wearing a halter top. And this kid could not possibly be any older than 11. I mean, she looked like Sora from the Digimon series. That's not appropriate at all. Another thing that bothered me about the museum, they have a bathroom area on the middle level, and this thing uses recycled water. I'm not kidding. They filter their own water. I'm an energy conscious person myself. I mean, I'm filming this off of an Energy Star computer, Energy Star monitor. I've got Energy Star equipment. I'm the one that changed out a lot of the light bulbs in my house. I mean, I don't use those cancer-causing fluorescent twirly things, but I sure do keep an eye on my electricity usage. Okay, so I'm all for protecting the environment. That's a little bit nutty when you are recycling toilet water, and you're proud of this. Look how we scientifically changed this using osmosis. No, 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 no. I don't ever want to see that in a museum. Okay? But this place used recycled water for the bathroom. That's not my biggest contention. My contention is that when you go to the area to wash your hands, they have it split up so that there's automatic water dispenser, you stick your hand under it, and it should work. Half of them didn't. Automatic dryer, again, half of them didn't work, and automatic soap dispenser. I don't usually care about this except for one great big scientific flaw here. Each of these things is being held behind a mirrored cabinet. This thing is no different than the cabinet you probably have in your own bathroom right now, where you just take a plank of wood and you go, well, this thing is made of mirror, okay? So it's considerably heavier than what you've got in your bathroom, but it opens about the same. There's no lock on this. I think that's a great big safety issue. The reason why is because while I was in this bathroom, which by the way was clearly marked women's bathroom, this bitch came in and steps on my backpack. Now, despite the fact that I have a camera in there, that's not my biggest problem, okay? My biggest problem, remember when I said earlier in this piece that there was one and only one fat kid among 700 people at this museum? Yeah, Cartman decided that it was funny not only to step on my knapsack, but grab the little mirror for the dryer, BAM! Right into me, which is why I've got a splitting migraine right now. So I look at this woman grabbing my face and I'm like, did you see what your son just did to me? She looks at Cartman and says, oh, Eric, isn't that sweet? The child's name is not Eric, but I'm doing that for legal reasons. Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, kids will be kids. Excuse me? No, that's not kids being kids at all. Not only is this rude, it's imitative behavior, as I quickly learned, because there was a little girl right behind me in her plaits, and this little kid thinks that Cartman here is cute, and because she thinks Cartman is cute, everything he does is just fucking wonderful. So she grabs the mirror for the soap dispenser, BAM! Now my arm hurts, I've got a bruise on my arm, and my head is hurting, And she's like, "It's funny, Mama, it's funny." And her mom, just like the white bitch next to me, and I hate to say white bitch, because this was a white bitch and a black bitch. I don't usually govern by race, but these two could have been twins if not for their skin coloring. They looked alike, certainly, and dressed alike. Black woman is like, "Oh, ha ha, that's so funny. You know, we should tell that to somebody and see if we can tell Tyler Perry about that, put that in a Medea movie. Ha ha ha." Not kidding. The white bitch next to me is thinking this is hysterical. The black bitch next to me is thinking this should be movie gold. And I'm bruised and boo-boo Ed. I don't understand why people just can't act their own age and not their shoe size, okay? If that was my kid slamming the mirrors, I'd haul his ass outside and give him 3 licks on the ass. I don't usually believe in child abuse. I think it's wrong. I was also raised old school, and let me tell you something. I was whooped plenty as a child. I don't think I turned out that badly. That was my child. No way in hell would I have allowed that. At the very least, if I couldn't whoop this child, I would have at least made him apologize. Is that so much to ask? Is I'm sorry such a big fucking issue to people nowadays? I don't quite understand that. There were so many of these parents that were just negligent. Another thing that bothered me a whole lot, and again, there's no cultural difference. I saw poor people, white people, Mexican people, black people, all kinds of people doing this, okay? As we are getting inside one of the museum cafeteria areas, my brother trips on somebody. Now, my brother looks down to see, you know, did I step on somebody's bag? He goes to turn around and say, "I'm sorry," because we raised his ass right, and there's this wall of people sitting on the floor. Now, I understand that there were over 700 people at this museum, but despite the fact that we were all packed in like sardines, it's not like we ran out of chairs either. There were tons of empty chairs. These people are sitting on the floor eating their snacks. And my brother looks down, and honest to God, he says this. He'll probably leave a comment for me on this video. He says, "What is this, Occupy Science?" And they look up and they're like, "Oh, peace be with you, brother." And he's like, "You guys don't need to be sitting on the floor. You're fully grown-ass adults. Half of you are over 50. Get your shit. Go sit at a table like a normal adult." Yeah, peace, man. Peace. Why are you acting like a hippie? You guys are dressed like business people. You are dressed like the 1%. Get your asses up. Go sit at a table like a grown-ass adult. Yeah, man. That's what it's like. I don't know if pot is allowed at the Science Museum, but these people were fucking high. I don't understand this. It's not bad enough that little kids were acting like shitheads and their parents were acting much better. Could anybody out there explain to me teenaged boys and tween-aged boys? Because seemingly every single motherfucker that bumped into me did one of these numbers. Oh, God. And anytime their parents asked them anything, "Jeremy, let's take pictures." God. "Jeremy, can you watch Susan while I go to the bathroom?" God. Yeah. What is this? What is this? Is this cool now? Is this cool? I just don't think so. I saw so many boys who kept cutting their hair like Justin Bieber, kept acting like Justin Bieber, kept going, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." It was annoying. And they would do this anytime that their parents whipped out a camera. When the camera goes away, they're back to, God. It's like they were split. I wish I could say Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because that would be fun if you've ever read the book. You know, the one without pictures. But no, it was going from Napoleon Dynamite to Justin Bieber. I don't understand this. Why did boys have to do this? Why can't you just act like a normal teenager? You know, get something tattooed, pierced. Be a normal teenager. So then one of the last straws that wound up getting me my exit from the museum. We went inside the coffee shop. And all I wanted was a cup of coffee. This was now hour 4.5 that I had been in the museum. I'm tired. I have an hour-and-a-half long commute home. I want a cup of coffee. I've got a raging migraine. One of the things that makes the migraine go down a bit is caffeine, which is why Excedrin has caffeine in it. All I wanted was a cup of coffee. All I wanted was a cup of coffee. We're in line for a cup of coffee, okay? And this line is packed. It's like people have never seen Starbucks in their life, which is sad because there's actually a Starbucks 2 miles away from the museum. So we're in line for coffee. And as we're in line, people are pushing me, people are bumping into me, people are punching my backpack, because I don't know, people have a vendetta against clear backpacks. And then finally, last straw walked up. This bitch is getting off her cell phone after talking loudly for the last 20 minutes while we're in line, and she elbows my mom aside and then goes, bitch. I got pissed. I was like, first of all, that's my mama, and second, she's special needs. Do you even care? They're both special needs. Pointing to my mom and my brother, who legally are special needs. They're disabled physically. And this bitch looks at me in the eye like, the hell? And she's acting like their being special needs is somehow impeding her from, I don't know what the hell else was in her head. My mother, even though she's special needs, was somehow able to reach behind her and grab my arm. Because it was up here. I will smack the bitch. I will gladly go to prison for smacking a white bitch for attacking my mama. I mean, this was not even an accident. Not like, oh, I'm sorry. No, that's an accident. What this bitch did was reached across and pushed my mama. She pushed my mama, who's special needs. I just about smacked the bitch. And I hope to God the bitch is watching. I hope she knows it's me. I'd be very happy to know that this bitch is in fear of me popping her in the head. So we decide, let's push on ahead. Let's keep a cool head. Go on ahead. They want $8.25 a coffee. Would you like to know how much coffee I would have gotten for $8.25 motherfucking cents? And mind you, this is without whipped cream or sugar or candy sprinkles or syrup or anything fun like you get at Starbucks, okay? $8.25. Would you like to know how much my cup of coffee would have been? How tall my cup of coffee would have been? Do you see this? Are you for real? This is not even 3 inches high. This is my Wendy's Pikachu clock, okay, from like 2003 and some shit. Now my Pikachu, my Pikachu is not even 3 inches tall. But he is the exact same size as the coffee I would have spent $8.25 motherfucking cents on. $8.25. I better have a stein of coffee. And if you don't know what that is, Google it, please. $8.25. I better damn well get a stein of coffee with whipped cream and sugar and sprinkles and, I don't know, some gold tint to it. Yeah, gold leaf that shit. So I decide this is enough. We're going to go to the bathroom, and then we're going to make our way outside and figure out what to do from there. Now, of course, it's still daylight, so I'm thinking maybe we've got time to have the rest of the day to ourselves in Chicago. On our way to the bathroom, my little brother gets thirsty. Now, he gets thirsty a lot. He's got arthritis, he's got to be on 2 different kinds of medication just to walk, and it causes him to be thirsty. So we pull over at water fountain number 1, which tastes like it came from 1910. I wouldn't think of the year 1910 if not for the fact that it was next to the 1910 exhibit, and apparently they want us to know what 1910 tastes like. By the way, that is the one exhibit I do recommend because they play old movies in the cinema theater and some really old cartoons from 1910, but we don't like tasting water from 1910. Specifically not if it came from a horse's ass. Orion insists that he's still thirsty. I'm not going back inside the coffee shop for no $8.25, and I sure as hell ain't going back to the cafeteria for another bottle of water at $7. I said 7. So we make our way over to water fountain numbers 2 through 7. And here's some sincere bullshit. Each one tastes more shitty than the last. We finally get to the last water fountain, which is in front of the bathroom, where I got my initial migraine. And the 2 water fountains don't taste too shitty. They taste kind of titty. I don't mind that. I'm not the worst that I've had that day, okay? And they're ice cold. I appreciate that. Problem being, if the both of you are thirsty, you can't both take a drink. So Orion goes to take his drink of water, a little tiny trickle comes up, he's got to push real hard to get this trickle to work. He gets a sip, I think, oh, well, if he's not choking on it, it's got to be good, I'll get my sip. I go to the little kid fountain, I go to push on that, his water goes... So now we have 2 fountains at consistency. Considering the fact that this is a science museum, I find that relatively sad that they have yet to figure out how to program 2 water fountains to work at the same time. I have a Sears at the River Oaks Mall that has not had anything new installed since 1967. And even in 1967, they managed to get the water fountains right. Why can't you? You're a science museum. That means you got no more excuses beyond this point. We go outside because they say the museum asks cabs to come to the museum to pick people up. So I'm thinking, okay, nearest Starbucks is 2 miles from here. I don't really want to walk 2 miles. At this point, my arthritis is acting up. Their arthritis is acting up. My mom has a plate in her neck. We don't really want to stress her out physically. We're just going to take a cab. A cab, 2 miles from the museum, is a $20 ride. $18 if I unzip this. I'm not kidding. I'm not even kidding. And I wish that was just the one cab driver I had asked, which, by the way, kept trying to drive without us. But no, this was all the cab drivers I asked. $20 if I zip this up, and $18 if it's down. I will walk. We ended up cutting the trip short. Bottom line, if you are going to sightsee and go someplace educational to better yourself, may I suggest picking any other museum but the Science and Industry Museum and the Art Institute. Now, the Art Institute I have a different story for, but I'm not going to stretch this video out any further than it is. That's a story for another time, I promise. Spoiler alert, it involves a string. But I do not recommend going to the Science Museum. In fact, I'm going to end this video with exactly what this is. Grinch taint.